This presentation was created by Jonathan Ross, Cameron Reed, Mallory Kohlmeyer, and Katie Bart. We will focus on the silent killer, tackling cardiovascular disease within Lambton County. Now we will take a closer look at cardiovascular disease. What is cardiovascular disease, you may ask? Well, it's related to atherosclerosis, which is essentially a condition that develops when plaque builds up in the walls of the arteries. This ultimately leads to diminished blood flow, which increases your risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure. Cardiovascular disease is also the second leading cause of death in Canada, representing approximately 20% of all mortalities. Now, focusing specifically on cardiovascular disease within the country, it has accounted for approximately 20% of all deaths, with 54% of these being due to ischemic heart disease, 20% due to stroke, and 23% due to heart attack. Due to its high prevalence within Canadian society, it is no wonder that cardiovascular disease continues to put an economic strain on the Canadian healthcare system. Furthermore, cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of hospitalizations within the country, accounting for almost 17% of all hospital visits. There are numerous risk factors associated with cardiovascular disease. Some of these risk factors are controllable, while others are not. Some of the controllable risk factors include physical activity, diet, smoking, alcohol consumption, high cholesterol or triglyceride levels, and high blood pressure. Some of the uncontrollable risk factors include family history, age, and ethnicity, with greater prevalences evident in Native American and African American populations. Now let's take a closer look at some of those risk factors. If you have one of the above risk factors, your chances of developing cardiovascular disease increase twofold. If you happen to have two of the above risk factors, your chances now increase fourfold. And three risk factors increases your chance of developing cardiovascular disease tenfold. Now let's focus on our population of interest, specifically the residents within Lambton County. Lambton County is located in southwestern Ontario and sits on the shores of Lake Huron, with a population of approximately 124,000 people. Surprisingly, this area experiences an alarmingly high rate of death due to cardiovascular disease in comparison to the provincial averages. Below is some information taken from Statistics Canada illustrating the prevalence of various risk factors within Lambton County. We can see from the statistics that there has been a 13% increase in cardiovascular disease from the year 2008 to 2009. Furthermore, obesity rates are 25%, 21% of residents partake in regular daily smoking, 22.7% of citizens have high blood pressure, 20.2% consume more than 5 alcoholic beverages per week, and only 36% consume 5 or more fruits and vegetables per day. Please note the provincial averages in brackets. It is evident that cardiovascular disease has become a significant health concern within Lambton County. You may ask, what organizations exist to help promote heart health and reduce the incidence of this disease? Well, that is where the Heart and Stroke Foundation, specifically the Sarnia chapter, steps in. The Heart and Stroke Foundation has invested $1.35 billion in research and has seen cardiovascular disease numbers decrease by 75% since its national inception in 1952. Some of the goals of the foundation include advancing research, promoting healthy living, and advocating heart health. More specifically, our program will attempt to increase participation in daily physical activity, help those with smoking cessation, help reduce alcohol consumption, promote healthy nutrition, and educate the general public on healthy heart habits. As outlined by the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology, it is recommended that each Canadian partake in 150 minutes of aerobic exercise per week, as well as 2 days of strength training per week. Furthermore, we would like to place a greater emphasis on physical activity amongst children and more specifically within the schooling system. The Heart and Stroke Foundation is involved in many fundraisers within the community, whether it be running or cycling events that raise funds for the Heart and Stroke Foundation, as well as promoting physical activity within the community. Proper nutrition is essential in reducing one's risk of cardiovascular disease. Canada's Food Guide specifically recommends 7 to 10 servings of fruit and vegetables per day. This is specifically for any individual over the age of 19. Obviously, these recommendations are not being met within Lambton County, and thus will be a focus of our program. Furthermore, the Heart and Stroke Foundation will continue to support the DASH diet at the community level. Lastly, education is an essential part of our program. It is important to know your numbers. Ask your doctors to check your blood pressure, your blood cholesterol levels, and blood glucose levels on a regular basis. Thank you for your time, and hopefully this was an informative program on cardiovascular disease and our program which specifically targets reducing the incidence within the Lambton County.